Good evening, whaalawhalahiatu. I'm Esther Pavihi and welcome to our bulletin of BCN News. After many months of anticipation, yesterday at the start of the final sitting of the 18th Assembly, Speaker Hima Douglas announced that the general elections this year will be held on Saturday the 2nd of May. The Assembly will dissolve on the 27th of March, and several members of the Assembly were not present at the meeting yesterday, including Minister Crossley Tatui, who is in Auckland on medical leave. Here's more. Minister Esa Mona Ainu is also overseas still, and two Commonwealth members, Billy Talangi and Olaf Jacobson, are also overseas on medical. Makefu's Assemblyman, Tofua Puletama, is also overseas, including member for Alofi North, Tutuli Haka, who is in New Zealand for a family occasion. Normally, at the last sitting of an Assembly term, this is an opportunity when members who wish to declare their retirement would deliver their valedictory speech. However, none of the members had informed the Speaker that they would be retiring at the end of this term. After 6 years as Speaker of the Niue Assembly, Hima Douglas delivered his valedictory speech yesterday, thanking his family, his village Avasele, and his staff. He acknowledged his predecessors and paid tribute to them, and he also acknowledged the Prime Minister Dalton Tagilangi and the government for supporting his vision to modernise the Niue Assembly and to start the conversation on making it more autonomous.
You don't become the Speaker of the Niue Assembly. Instead, you are given temporary custody of an institution that belongs to our people. That institution is called the Speaker. For me, having temporary custody of this office has been an honour beyond words and beyond measure. And so to all the members of this Honourable 18th House of Assembly, it has been an honour and a privilege to serve you as your Speaker. Good luck. And God bless you all.
And we wish Speaker Hima Douglas all the very best in his retirement. And staying with the final sitting of the 18th Assembly, where two new laws were passed yesterday, the Aviation Reform Bill and the Communications Bill. In the Communications Bill, in Section 61, provides the Niue government, specifically the Cabinet, provides the Cabinet powers of control and oversight over the long-contested high-level domain name .nu. Here's that story. The government's long-standing fight to have control of the high-level domain name .nu has taken a big leap with the passing of the Communications Bill by the Niue Assembly yesterday. Section 61 of the Communications Law relates to the control and Cabinet's oversight of the .nu. This recording is of Speaker Hima Douglas yesterday, reading parts of the bill before the second and third reading.
Prohibition on unauthorised management of the top-level domain name .nu, Cabinet's power to enforce control over the top-level domain names, and the right of oversight and monitoring of the top-level domain, and mandatory data replication for national security and international compliance.
BCN News understands that the Niue government has a standing legal case in the Swedish courts to take control of the .nu, which is currently being managed by a Swedish company. It's been 20 years and the government is still fighting to claim ownership and control of the .nu domain name. We will bring more on this developing story in future bulletins. The Chief Coroner of New Zealand, Anna Tutton, is on the island this week conducting a workshop with government officials and officers of the Niue High Court about the coronial procedure. The workshop is for government officials who are part of that process, including commissioners, justices of the peace, hospital staff, police officers, fire and rescue representatives as well. New Zealand Chief Coroner Anna Tutton is no stranger to Niue. She has been here several times to help local judicial officers and officials understand and know their role in the coronial system.
The role of coroner is a very, very old role, and historically the system was set up so that coroners investigated certain categories of death as well as fires. So not every fire, for example, in Niue, if a fire happens in the bush and all that's damaged is bush, a coroner wouldn't be involved. But if there's damage caused to various types of structure or crops, or somebody is injured, there's a fireworks incident which causes injury or an explosion, then the coroner is the officer, the judicial officer, who conducts an investigation into that event.
The participants include officials from the Health Department, Justice, Fire and Rescue and the police. Sergeant Ramona Jackson says that this is his second training with the Chief Coroner. He says it is very useful, explaining his role in the coronial process.
This training has been useful, awareness for everyone and knowledge for everyone to know what the processes are in place, and it will be nice for the general public to be aware and expect when things happen, and if I'm there to sign papers, then they'll know why I'm there and what reasons. So if you have any questions regarding, especially during those times, reach out. I know it's hard for you to make a decision at the time, but if you can, talk to us and we can help or direct you.
Coroner Anna Tutton explains that the process is not only in relation to the deaths, but also fires.
The system relates to sometimes described as the living speaking for the dead. And in Niue, the system relates to certain kinds of death and also fires, explosions and fireworks incidents. So what we're doing this week is working with each of the participating agencies through their roles in the process and getting information related to various scenarios to the commissioners so that they can practice their decision making as judicial officers.
Local coroner and commissioner of the High Court, Des Hipa, told BCN News that the workshop is very helpful in their work as local coroners because this is not an easy role, especially in a small community. Hipa says that it is important for the public also to understand some of this process, which is something the Justice Department is working to improve in terms of public awareness. The Asian Development Bank is financing an assessment of the island's transport network as part of improving infrastructure, sustainability and the impacts of climate change. Last week, a team from Haskoning Australia were on the island, including a gender and social inclusion expert, Nora Jukic. She explains what social vulnerability is in terms of the transport sector.
When we're talking about transport in Niue, it's basically airport, the wharf and the boat and the road. So those three are the key transport assets that we've been talking about. So we've done all sorts of assessments. We've done engineering assessment, economic assessments to understand the vulnerability. What is the economic impact if there are disruptions because of climate change? But when we're talking about vulnerability, we can't ignore people. So that's when I step in. My expertise is understanding how community information, community wisdom can contribute to this kind of assessment. So when we're talking about vulnerability in terms of people and the transport, it's really about if there are transport disruptions, how are the people impacted?
Nora Jukic explained that social vulnerability impacts for Niue also extends to our communities in New Zealand and Australia.
Because of the transport network and the transnational nature of your communities, that it's not only people here in Niue, but it's people in New Zealand, people in Auckland, in Australia. So we met with your community in Auckland to understand what does, if there's transport disruptions in terms of aviation services, what does it mean to them? Since we understood they're hosting a lot of local families for sometimes extended periods of time when people come and give birth or they have medical appointments. So yeah, we had a good conversation with your community members to hear their feedback as well in terms of what does it mean if there are delays in flights. And yeah, it was quite interesting. It wasn't only the flight delays, they were also sharing concerns about the people back home if they are increasing events such as cyclones in future. They were worried, and yeah, they were happy to be heard.
She explains that they are also aware that people on the island may be tired of being consulted for reports, so they decided to bring a cinematographer to document the process and to document people's views into a documentary.
So one of the frustrations that I've learned from communities here in Niue as well is consultation fatigue, the lack of results. People are sick of just getting another report. So in this case, ADB was very happy to kind of extend our services to cover this kind of mini documentary to capture people's voices in people's own words, not just us telling their story, but people telling their stories themselves and putting it out there. So it's not only that the information is reaching different people, but it's reaching people better. It's making bigger impact. So that's why we come together with the cinematographer to do a little video, so communities get something back from this as well, not just a report.
The project to look into improving infrastructure sustainability through better asset management started last year, and consulting firm Haskoning Australia is the lead, with local consultants Bertha Tongahai and Shane Tohovaka. The project is funded by the Asian Development Bank. The Niue Oceanwide team will be leading a group of local village representatives on a learning exchange tour to New Zealand later this month. A delegation of 41, including representatives from the 14 villages from their Resource Management Advisory Committees, or RMACs, will be shown established community-led conservation initiatives and marine reserves in New Zealand. The group met this morning at the Millennium Hall to discuss the itinerary and to learn more about the tour from team leader Brendan Pasisi. The RMAC and Now tour will start in New Zealand on the 21st until the 31st of this month. One of the outcomes of this tour is for the participants to learn how to develop, manage and sustain conservation initiatives from those who have been working in this space for a long time in New Zealand. The hope is that the participants will return and utilise what they have learned to strengthen their respective village plans and to apply what they learned on this tour.
Hopefully you feel inspired to lift the work that we're trying to do, and we'll show you why as we go throughout the program. So it's a great tour, it's a lot of money, so hopefully if there's anything you take away from the meeting today, is the opportunity that each and every one of us has got. It's a privilege really for us to be able to join this tour.
And local NGO Niue Women's Alliance for Climate Justice over the weekend announced a project called Ke Longona Totoka, Ke Malolo Katoa Toa, to listen holistically with intent to gain wholesome wellness. The project, funded by the Pacific Feminist Funds, aims to raise awareness about issues facing women and girls and to provide a safe space for them to have those conversations. Alice Tomailunga told BCN News that they will be officially launching this project during the April school holidays. Alice Tomailunga of the Niue Women's Alliance for Climate Justice group spoke to us about this new project.
So the project is Ke Longona Totoka Ka Malolo Ka Toa Toa, and this translates to listen holistically with intent to gain wholesomeness, wellness. Now the project aims to raise awareness and empowerment for women and young girls to have better understanding of the many underlying and complex issues that currently exist here on the island of Niue.
The project aims to raise awareness about issues facing women and girls, and the project also provides them with the safe space to talk about these and empower them with the right tools to better understand and to overcome these challenges.
Who will benefit? Ideally, Niue will benefit from our kids, young kids to our youth. The aim is to empower our youth to lead the project and bring awareness to our community.
The project is funded under the Pacific Feminist Fund under the theme Sexual Reproductive Health Rights. Funding was secured as a result of Niue's participation at the Diva for Equality meeting in Nandi, Fiji last year, when Niue was represented by Mrs. Joanna Matangi. The project will officially launch next month. And that is our bulletin for BCN News for this evening. I hope you enjoyed the news bulletin, especially our audience and viewers from across the Pacific, thanks to our partners, Pacifica TV. From Niue and from all of us at the team here at BCN News, we wish you good night. Nona fua.